Welcome back to Question Time, where Joe Calhoun answers your questions. Steve Brennan, what have you got today?
Yeah, we have a DARP question on the Trump economic policy, DARP, the dollar and rates paradigm that we follow here at Alhambra. But there seems to be a little bit of contradiction here on the political trail versus what's going to actually happen once the administration gets in power. As I understand it, Joe, you can kind of either have a weak dollar to make U.S. exports less expensive and foreign imports more expensive, or you can prioritize lower inflation. But you can't really pursue both, can you?
Well, first of all, I would say let's not crown Mr. Trump just yet. It's a long way to go before the election, so I don't know that he's going to be elected. But we are starting to get questions about, what policy would look like. And I think you don't get those questions from the other side because it would be a continuation of what we've been doing for the last few years. And let me just say, we don't talk politics around here that much, but sometimes it's necessary. Just for the record, I don't like any politicians. I think they're all thieves and liars and whatever. I don't like politicians. And I would also say too that we don't think that in general, political mixing politics and investing is not a good idea. Whatever your views are, they can color the way you look at things, and that can affect your portfolio in ways that are not logical. Put it that way. We've seen a lot of people over the years make investment decisions based on politics. It just rarely works out. First of all, and I guess too, we've said plenty of times, the thing that we fear, and I think the thing that has maybe become a little bit more, or at least according to the betting odds, has become a little more likely, is a complete sweep where you get one side controlling the White House, the House of Representatives, and the Senate. We worry about that because that's a situation where a political party can do big things, at least theoretically. The Senate's a little tougher. You usually need 60 votes to get things done, but and nobody's had 60 votes for a long time. But that does worry us because markets don't like and economies don't like when big things happen, because when big things happen, people have to adjust. Businesses have to adjust, and that's a problem. So, and what happens is while they're making policy, which that sausage making process takes some time, and all that time they spend doing the sausage making is going to be time where companies are sitting on their hands going, I'm not doing anything until I know how this comes out. So we don't like that. So let's talk though about what we think we know about potential Trump policies. First of all, I will just say this. I don't think we have, well, look, we can read the Republican platform. We know what they've talked about, and we know what J.D. Vance in particular has talked about when it comes to the dollar. And Donald Trump, too, has also spoken about the desire or need for a cheaper dollar. I will tell you right now, I think that's a very, very, very large mistake if that's the policy that they pursue. But as you said, Steve, some of it is just kind of contradictory here. Look, if you're looking to reduce inflation, and that does seem to be a big driver of the campaign here, which is that inflation has been very high under the Biden administration, and we're going to bring it down. Well, you're not going to bring it down with a cheaper dollar. That's for darn sure, because that is inflation. That is the very definition of inflation. I would like a cheaper currency. I'm not surprised that that's what the Republicans want. Or, let me say that differently. I'm not surprised that's what Trump and J.D. Vance want. I don't think that it necessarily represents the views of conservatives historically. In fact, I know it doesn't. But it is their view. And that's because they focus on trade as this deal where if you've got a trade deficit, we're losing, and they don't want to lose. Well, all that's kind of a fallacy, but the bottom line is that it's going to be difficult to do the things they want to do because their whole policy platform is contradictory. For instance, saying, I want a cheaper dollar and I'm going to impose high tariffs is contradictory. Why? Well, because imposing tariffs actually makes your currency go up. And if you want confirmation of that and you want to see what the outcome of that is, I would suggest you go and read up on something called the Smoot-Hawley Act in 1930, because that's what happens when you impose very high tariff barriers. You get a strong currency, you get deflation. Yeah, you'd solve the inflation problem, but you just created a new problem, and not a very easy one to solve either. So I don't know really. I think that the real answer here is we don't know what they're going to do. It will depend on the makeup of Congress. We don't know, and we don't know who's going to talk to, who's going to be the Treasury Secretary, for instance. Look, if they've talked about, for instance, Jamie Dimon as Treasury Secretary, I can't imagine that Jamie Dimon is going to be all on board for a cheap dollar, because that just doesn't make any sense. So I think there's a lot of time between now and the election. We'll see how it goes. I'm not going to make any big declarations about what might be, because we don't know. So just wait till you get closer to the election, see who looks like it's going to win, and then you'll start to see markets react and anticipate what that new policy is going to be. I can tell you that if the market believes that they can manufacture or engineer a cheaper dollar, a dollar that's going down, we know what to do in that environment. That's kind of the whole point of this DARP, of dollar and rate paradigm. We know what to do if the dollar is going down. We know what works. So we can adjust to it. Is it the right policy for the United States? I don't think so. I disagree with it vehemently. But that's not my job. My job is to guide us through these things if they happen. So if they go for a cheap dollar, we know what to do. We know how to keep up. We know how to take advantage of that. And that's what we'll do.
You heard Joe say that we are getting a lot of questions. Make sure you get yours in by putting them in the comment section down below.